Have you ever met someone by pure chance, maybe at a bar, a party, or just out in the city, and everything just clicked? The vibe was good, the conversation flowed, and you thought, this could be a new friend. Maybe even someone who really gets me. That's exactly what I thought when I met Matt. It was a warm summer night. The kind where the air feels heavy with freedom and possibility. I was out with friends at a bar. The kind with old wooden floors, TVs showing the Cubs game, and the low hum of laughter and clinking glasses. That's when I bumped into him, Matt. Just a regular guy, early 20s, friendly. We started chatting about baseball, travel, even golf. He had a decent following on Instagram. Looked like someone who hiked on weekends and knew where to get the best tacos. We followed each other, dapped it up, and parted ways. One of those random, feel-good encounters that usually just fade into the weekend. But Matt didn't fade away. The very next day, he showed up again, then again, and again. At first, I told myself it was coincidence. Life just works in funny ways sometimes, right? But looking back now, I wish I had listened to that quiet voice in the back of my head. The one that whispered, something's not right. Because what started as a spontaneous friendship turned into a terrifying realization that sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones who smile the easiest. In this video, I'm going to take you through what really happened. From casual drinks to a hiking trip that still haunts me. From a guy the first thought I knew, to someone who made me question my safety, my privacy, and my instincts. And by the end, I hope you'll walk away with more than just a story. I hope you walk away with awareness, because this could happen to anyone. So grab a drink, get comfortable, and let me tell you about Matt. When I first met Matt, there wasn't a single red flag in sight. We were just two guys vibing at a crowded bar on a summer night. The Cubs were playing on TV. The drinks were flowing, and my friends had slowly scattered across the venue while I stayed back. Caught in one of those rare, effortless conversations with a stranger. We talked sports, music, traveling, nothing deep, just surface-level stuff that felt oddly comfortable. There was something disarming about him. He was friendly, easygoing. He had that kind of energy that makes you feel like you've known him for longer than 10 minutes. You know the type. People who seem safe simply because they're chill. Harmless, a little funny, kinda cool. And just like that, I added him on Instagram. His page didn't raise any alarms either. A bunch of travel photos. Group shots with friends. Hiking, bars, airports, the usual. He had a decent follower count too, enough to look social. Not enough to look like he was trying too hard. Honestly, if I'm being real, I liked him. Not in a romantic way, just, he seemed like a good dude. But here's the thing no one tells you. The most dangerous people in the world don't come with warning signs. They don't twirl a mustache. They don't lurk in dark alleys. Sometimes, they're just casually sipping beer beside you at the bar. We are wired to trust people who fit a familiar mold. Friendly face? Check. Clean clothes? Check. Speaks your language? Shares your interests? Double check. It's called the halo effect, a psychological bias where one positive trait leads us to assume someone is entirely good. A good smile? Must mean a good heart. But it's a lie we tell ourselves because it's easier than being on guard all the time. Matt wasn't just normal. He was likable. He said things like, text me if you're ever bored, and I believed he meant it. I believed we'd maybe grab a beer again sometime. Talk Cubs again. Joke about who drinks more. That night, I went home thinking, that was a cool random encounter. What I didn't realize was, I wasn't the one who found Matt. He found me. You see, in hindsight, there were things I ignored. Little things. He never really talked about friends in detail. I never saw him check his phone. And when I posted an Instagram story the next day at a completely different bar across town, Matt just happened to show up there too. That's when things stop feeling random. And the thing is, it happens more than you think. There are real cases, disturbing ones, of people who met someone just like Matt. Like John Meehan, better known as Dirty John. Charming, handsome, said all the right things. And then he manipulated his way into someone's life, and tried to end it. These people don't force their way in. They smile, they listen, they follow you online, they find your favorite bar. They blend in. By the time you realize they've been watching you, it's already too late. I trusted Matt too quickly. Not because I'm dumb, not because I'm naive, but because I wanted to believe that a good Casual connection still exists in this world. That not every stranger is a threat. That sometimes, a new friend really is just a friend. But that's not what this story is about. Because when Matt showed up again the next day, at the exact bar I had posted from, the universe wasn't smiling on me. It was sending a warning. And I didn't listen. He kept showing up, once by coincidence, maybe, but over and over? I should have known then, this wasn't random. This was calculated. This was stalking. Let me tell you what happened next. The next time I saw Matt, I genuinely laughed. It was less than 24 hours later. I was out again, this time at a completely different part of town. A waterfront bar with outdoor seating. It was my friend Tyler's birthday. I had posted a quick Instagram story, candles, drinks, music, just a group of friends singing off-key. An hour or so passed. We were done with dinner and just hanging around outside when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned. It was Matt. He smiled like we were old friends, dapped me up, and said, "This is my favorite Saturday night spot." Like he'd been coming there for years. And maybe he had. But something about the timing. Something about the way he just appeared. Less than a day after we met. At a place I never mentioned to him. It made the hair on the back of my neck rise a little. Still, I pushed it down. I introduced him to my friends. Half joking, "You guys remember Matt?" Even though they'd barely seen him at the bar the night before. No one thought much of it. We were drinking, laughing. Everyone was in a good mood. Including him. But that night planted a seed of doubt. Because I started thinking, how did he know I was here? That one question echoed louder and louder in my mind. I knew the answer. I just didn't want to admit it. Instagram. He had seen my story. That 1-second clip of a birthday cake and a crowd of voices was all he needed to find me. And that's when the tone of our friendship shifted from chance to choice. His choice. He hadn't stumbled upon me. He had tracked me. We like to romanticize coincidences. You again? What are the odds? But when it happens twice, thrice, always at your favorite bar, your favorite trail, your own city, those odds start to feel less like fate and more like a plan. And it's not just me. You'd be surprised how many people have similar stories. Women especially. Men showing up at gyms after following their social media. Strangers finding where they live because of one poorly cropped selfie. There was a case in San Diego where a woman posted her coffee order at a cafe. She tagged the shop. 30 minutes later, a man she barely knew sat down across from her, smiling. He never said how he found her. She never posted her location again. In today's world, stalking doesn't look like a trench coat in the bushes. It looks like a like, a follow, a harmless DM. And maybe you're thinking, well, he didn't hurt you. He was just showing up, being friendly. But stalking rarely starts with violence. It starts with access. And that access gets normalized. Day by day, moment by moment, until someone feels entitled to be in your space, without asking. That's what Matt was doing. He was entering my life. One coincidence at a time. Still, I didn't cut him off. Because honestly, I didn't know how. What do you even say to someone who hasn't technically done anything wrong? He hadn't threatened me. He hadn't made me feel unsafe, yet. But deep down, I knew something was off. It was like there was this invisible line, and Matt kept towing it. And the most dangerous people? They know exactly how to walk that line. So when he invited me on a weekend hiking trip to Arizona, just the two of us, my gut twisted a little. But I said yes. And that's when things started to get really strange. The Airbnb, the one bed, the locked door, and the moment I realized, I wasn't just traveling with a new friend. I was alone, miles from home, with someone I didn't know at all. Let me tell you what happened in Arizona. Saying yes felt harmless at the time. Arizona had always been on my bucket list. The Red Rock, the desert air, the Grand Canyon. I dreamed of hiking it for years but never got around to it. So when Matt brought it up casually one night, "You down for a trip next weekend?" I didn't overthink it. I checked with work, got the time off, asked a few friends if they wanted to join. Everyone said the same thing: too expensive, too short notice, too tired. So it ended up being just Matt and me. And I told myself that was okay. He was friendly. I'd seen him a few times. We'd hung out. We even went golfing that one time. Just the two of us. And it had been fine. Uneventful. If anything, he felt like the type of guy who just really liked having someone to hang out with. He booked the Airbnb, said he'd handle the rental car, even offered to cover most of the stay. "Don't worry about it," he said, "you can crash on the pullout." That phrase didn't stick out until much later. We flew out on August 15th. The plan was simple: land, grab food and drinks, get to the Airbnb, and hit the trails early the next morning. It felt like the start of something adventurous, spontaneous, a quick escape from everyday stress. But the moment we stepped into the Airbnb, something shifted. The place was quiet, too quiet, one of those modern desert rentals with concrete walls and echoing hallways. No neighbors in sight, no check-in desk, just us and the silence. And then I saw it. One bed, a queen bed, perfectly made, no second bedroom, no bunk beds, no twin tucked in the corner. Just a couch. I paused and said, "Hey, I thought this had 2 rooms?" He glanced at me casually and said, "Nah, but the couch pulls out. You're good." Then he smiled. And I laughed. Because what else do you do in that moment? It felt like too small a detail to make a scene over. He wasn't charging me for the place. I didn't want to come off ungrateful. And hey, the couch looked fine. But something about that first night stuck with me. I remember waking up around 3 a.m. Matt was walking through the living room, barefoot, heading into the kitchen, just a shadow in the dim light of the fridge. He didn't say anything, and I didn't either. I chalked it up to jet lag or a late night water run, and rolled back over. But when I woke up the next morning, my phone had been moved. I clearly remembered plugging it in next to the couch, placing it right by my pillow. Now, it was across the room, unplugged, sitting on the coffee table. Little things like that. You tell yourself they don't matter. Maybe you were drunk, maybe you moved it and forgot. But it left a feeling, like someone had been standing over you while you slept. Still, we hiked that day. The Grand Canyon was even more breathtaking than I imagined. We did Bright Angel Trail. The photos we took looked like something off a travel blog. Matt seemed fine, talkative, energetic, a little too energetic. Actually, he kept trying to push me to drink more that night, even though I was already exhausted. We bar hopped in Phoenix, got back late, and once again, I crashed hard on the couch. I remember waking up briefly, sometime past midnight, and again, my phone wasn't where I left it. This time, the charging cord was dangling. The phone was missing. I sat up, looked around, and found Matt lying face down on the floor next to the bed. When I asked him what he was doing, he looked startled, confused, like he'd just woken up. He said he must have wandered in drunk and passed out on the floor. But he wasn't even close to the door. He was on the far side of the bed, like he'd walked around it. Like he was doing something, and just fell. Then, when I asked about my phone, he suddenly found it under the bed within 2 seconds. Something inside me clicked. This wasn't just weird anymore. This wasn't funny. This was intentional. I told him I'd sleep on the couch again, but he insisted he would. He left the room, and this time, I locked the door behind him. And yet, I still wasn't safe. Because sometime that night, I woke up again, and this time, he was inside the room, standing at the foot of the bed, his silhouette just there. He didn't speak, he just sat down, gently, and began rubbing my foot. I froze. It felt like a dream, like my brain hadn't caught up to what was happening. But when it finally did, I screamed. I told him to get out. He didn't move. I had to physically shove him off the bed and out of the room. I packed my things in silence. Every zipper, every fold of clothing, every shove of socks into a bag. It all happened with him sitting outside on the couch, watching. He didn't say a word. I called an Uber to the airport. And I didn't look back. I thought I could finally breathe once I got home. But the real horror wasn't just what happened in Arizona, it was what I discovered afterward. And it made everything worse. Let me tell you what I found out about Matt. I left the Airbnb that morning with shaking hands. There was no yelling, no confrontation, just the quiet sound of my suitcase zipping shut and the image of Matt sitting on the couch, watching me, expressionless, like some kind of NPC in a horror game who never blinks. It didn't feel like running away. It felt like escaping. Even after I got to the airport and through security, I couldn't relax. My brain kept replaying the same scenes over and over. The phone being moved, him lying next to the bed, the way he rubbed my foot like it was something normal. That last part, the foot rub, is the one that haunts me the most. Because it was intimate, Quiet, purposeful, not aggressive, not violent. But that's what made it worse. That wasn't just a drunk mistake. That wasn't sleepwalking. That was someone crossing a deeply personal boundary with no hesitation. In the dark, while I slept. And I keep wondering, what would have happened if I hadn't woken up? Would he have stopped there? Would he have tried to open my phone again? Would he have taken pictures? Would he have done worse? It's easy to brush off creepy behavior, especially from someone you thought was your friend. We excuse things. We rationalize. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it's just the alcohol. Maybe he's just lonely. But when the signs start stacking up, when someone moves your phone, finds your location through social media, lies about sleeping arrangements, and sneaks into your room at night, you have to stop calling it weird. You have to start calling it what it is: dangerous. The reality is, most people who are violated or manipulated don't see it coming in one sudden moment. It's a drip of little invasions, a slow crossing of invisible lines, until one day, you look around and realize you've been in danger this whole time. After I blocked Matt, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something, that there was more to the story. So, I went back to one of his older Instagram posts, one of the ones that made him look like he had a ton of friends. He was standing in a group photo, smiling, beer in hand, surrounded by guys I didn't recognize. But none of them were tagged. Except one. One guy had left a comment months ago, a joke about the trip they'd taken. I clicked on his profile. Looked familiar. Same guy from the picture. But Matt didn't follow him. And he didn't follow Matt back. That seemed strange. So, on a whim, I DM'd him. And what I got back chilled me to the bone. He responded within minutes. Nah, guy's a freak. Run away. He told me they used to be friends, sort of. That Matt had a habit of getting too close too fast. Showing up uninvited, and making people uncomfortable. There were other guys too. Apparently. People who had slowly cut him off over the years. Quietly. No big drama, just distance. And when I told him what happened in Arizona, he didn't act surprised. He said, "Guy should be in jail." That sentence broke something in me. Because it confirmed what I didn't want to believe. That my instincts weren't paranoid. They were right. Matt wasn't just socially awkward. He wasn't a misunderstood loner. He was a predator. And while nothing, technically, happened, no crime, no bruises, no police report, something was taken from me on that trip. Trust. The feeling of safety when I close my eyes. The ability to take a spontaneous trip without looking over my shoulder. And the worst part? I still don't know what he wanted from my phone. It could have ended there, but it didn't, because sometimes, when you think you've walked away from the danger, it follows you home. Let me show you how deep this went. Let's talk about what happened next. When I got home, I didn't tell anyone right away. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't have the words yet. I felt exhausted, foggy, like my mind hadn't caught up to what I had just lived through. I wasn't physically hurt. I wasn't robbed. I wasn't locked in a basement or chased through the woods. But I still felt violated. And for a while, I questioned if that feeling was valid. That's what happens when you experience something creepy that isn't quite criminal. You downplay it. You rewrite the story in your head to make it more comfortable. You say things like, maybe he really was just drunk. Maybe I overreacted. Nothing actually happened, right? But something did happen. Something real. It just didn't leave bruises. When I finally told my friends a day or two later, their reactions were sharper than mine. Wait, Matt? That dude was always by himself. You never noticed he was alone both nights we randomly ran into him? Dude, he's a stalker. You just didn't see it. And that's when it hit me. They saw it. I didn't. All the pieces I had brushed aside, him showing up at that second bar. Him never mentioning his own friends. The perfect Instagram but no real connections. They weren't coincidences. They were patterns, signs. And I had ignored them. Not because I'm clueless, but because, like so many of us, I didn't want it to be true. Because the truth? It's uncomfortable. It means you have to accept that someone you laughed with, traveled with, trusted, was actively manipulating your sense of safety. And that realization sticks. It makes you look at past moments differently. Like the time he brought up a specific restaurant I'd never mentioned. Or when he said, "You post a lot, makes it easy to find you." I'd laughed at that when he said it. Now, it makes my skin crawl. And the worst part was the phone. To this day, I still don't know what he was trying to access. Was he trying to unlock it while I slept? Did he go through my messages? Did he airdrop himself something? Photos? Contacts? I'll never know. But what I do know is this: paranoia isn't always irrational. Sometimes, it's intuition knocking, quietly, and if you ignore it long enough, it stops knocking and starts screaming. There's this common misconception that stalkers only target romantic interests. But the truth is, some people stalk to control, to feel powerful. They don't want to love you. They want access to your life without earning it. And sometimes, they get close without ever really showing their face. After talking with the guy from Matt's Instagram photo and hearing his story, plus the stories of the other men who had quietly backed away from Matt, I realized something sobering. I was next in line. And I got out just in time. So if you've ever felt off about someone, without being able to explain it, trust that feeling. Your brain is smart, but your instincts? They're ancient. They're built to keep you safe. It's not paranoia. It's survival. What do you do when you finally recognize the danger, and it's already inside your home? Your feed, your life? In the last part of this story, I'll tell you what I've learned, what I wish I'd known sooner, and how to make sure you never end up in a situation like mine. Let's talk about what comes next, when the fear fades. But the lesson stays. I still think about that trip sometimes. The warm air in Arizona. The breathtaking silence of the canyon. The way the sun painted the sky orange just before it set. It should have been a peaceful memory. But now, it's tangled in shadows. And the more time that passes, the more I realize just how close I came to something I still can't fully name. Something that didn't look like a monster. Didn't carry a knife. Didn't scream or chase. Something that smiled, paid for the rental, offered to help. Something that looked exactly like a friend. So what do you do when the threat isn't loud? When it's not a headline story? Not a breaking window or a masked figure? What do you do when the danger just walks in? I've thought about this a lot. And here's what I wish I'd known. 1. You don't owe anyone comfort at the expense of your safety. If something feels off, even if you can't explain it, you're allowed to step back. You don't need evidence. You don't need to justify it. Your gut isn't paranoid. It's protective. 2. Vet people before you travel with them. If you haven't spent extended time with someone, especially alone, don't go on overnight trips. Don't share Airbnbs with no locks. Don't assume everything will work out. Do background checks. Ask mutual friends. Set firm boundaries. 3. Be careful with what you post online. I didn't realize how traceable my life was until Matt showed up at the exact bar I had posted from, uninvited. Unannounced. Turn off location tagging. Don't post your whereabouts in real time. Your safety is more important than aesthetic stories. 4. Trust patterns, not excuses. One strange moment might be nothing. But when they start to stack, when someone lies, crosses boundaries, shows up uninvited, manipulates your space, that's not coincidence. That's behavior. 5. Always let someone know where you are. Even if you think you're just spending a weekend hiking. Even if it's with someone who seems cool. Send your itinerary to a friend. Share your location. Set up check-in texts. If something ever feels wrong, you'll be glad someone knows where to find you. None of this is about living in fear. It's about living with awareness. Because what happened to me wasn't a horror movie. It was subtle, slow, almost normal. And that's what makes it scarier. Matt never raised his voice. Never made a scene. He moved quietly, smiled easily, slipped past my defenses not because I was weak, but because I wanted to believe in the good in people. And honestly, I still do. But next time I meet someone like Matt, I'll listen to that quiet voice in my head. The one that tells me to lock the door. To double-check the bed. To trust myself. Because the scariest thing isn't running into danger. It's inviting it in, thinking it's a friend. So if you've ever had a moment where something didn't sit right, if you've ever laughed it off, smiled through discomfort, convinced yourself you were just overthinking, don't. Next time you meet a Matt, trust your instincts. They might be the only thing standing between you and something you never saw coming. If this story made you pause, even just a little, share it. Someone you know might be facing their own, Matt, and not even realize it yet. And if you've ever been through something like this, you're not overreacting. You're not crazy. You're not alone.